Welcome to Presidential Fight Club, the show that answers the question, if all 44 presidents fought each other one-on-one, who would win? Hosted by two history professors who have too much time on their hands, Scott Rank and James Early. Welcome to the third fight in round one of Presidential Fight Club. We are going to see two contenders square off from different periods in history. Our first contender is Calvin Coolidge, and he goes up against Chester A. Arthur. James, what does Silent Cal bring to the fight?
Silent Cal doesn't bring a whole lot to the fight, to be honest with you. Coolidge was let's see. He was 5'10", so not super short. Actually, that's even average today, but very thin and absolutely no background in boxing, wrestling, sports, or military service whatsoever. He was definitely had some grit. You know, he faced down some striking policemen and won in that situation and basically forced the police to not go on strike. He said the police can't strike against the public interest. And so he wasn't afraid of a confrontation, but at the same time, when it comes to a physical fight, he just doesn't have a whole lot to offer. I don't know that his silent nature would help him very much, but he's definitely not going to talk his opponent to death. But I'm afraid Coolidge is just not really cut out for the boxing ring.
Okay, well, this is one area where Arthur has superiority. He's 6'2". He is another person kind of like Martin Van Buren, where I can't say he brings a lot physically to the fight besides his height, no military experience, no sign of love of engagement in physical combat. What he does bring is the psychological element to a fight. So he was in politics in the late 1800s following the Civil War. This is sort of the golden age of party bosses and political machines of cities, of complete and total corruption, where you can politicize an office, give jobs as favors, skim off the top of almost any public project imaginable. And Arthur is a master at this. He's president from 1881 to 1885. But where he was before this was in the New York Customs House, where the government collected tariff revenues on the major of goods imported into the U.S., and the most powerful of these was a collector, which was Arthur, and he had power over 1,000 jobs and could hire whoever he wanted. Ironically, when he becomes president, he tries to crack down on these machine politics. But there's one story I read about of Arthur that shows his manipulative genius. It says, when Chester was a boy, you might see him watching the boys building a mud dam across the rivulet in the roadway. Pretty soon, he'd be ordering this one to bring stones, another sticks, and others sod and mud to finish the dam. And they would do all his bidding without question. But he took good care not to get any of the dirt on his hands. So in terms of psychology, if he can do that against his opponent, he has a good chance. And I think that's the best bet that we can say for Chester A. Arthur. And you also mentioned Martin Van Buren had incredible whiskers. The Chester A. Arthur is one of the most impressive handlebar mustaches you'll ever see among the portrait of presidents. So in terms of personal grooming, that's the other thing he has.
No, it's epic. I mean, when he was young, before he was president, I mean, those things flop down onto his shoulders. That's sideburns for you. I tell you, he could probably get Coolidge tied up in those.
Right. Do whatever you can. Or maybe Coolidge can grip him, so it might be a disadvantage, like they make you shave your head when you enter the military.
Good point. I didn't think of that. I'm also thinking Arthur might not want to get his hands dirty in a fight, because if you're going to fight somebody, you might get blood on you.
Well, he's a little late for foppish dandies, but he sort of fits that description. But who wins, according to voters, between these two?
Well, it was pretty overwhelming. The voters of American History Fanatics selected Chester Arthur as the winner, and mainly because of his height advantage. He had quite an advantage. 6'2" is really tall, especially back for that time. And he was very heavy, too. And it's interesting. Heaviness can work for you or against you. It certainly slows you down. But at the same time, if you can get your weight into a punch, your opponent is going to be in a world of hurt. Yeah, Chester Arthur was, I think, about our fourth or fifth most obese president in our history. I mean, he liked to eat. Now, he really did. And so if he could get that weight into the punch, he probably weighed double what not double what Calvin Coolidge weighed, but much, much more than Coolidge. So he's got that working in his favor as well. So I think that's why Arthur wins, height and weight, and just the fact that Coolidge was not even close to a fighter at all.
Right. He's, like you said, he can be a little bit tough mentally. He put down strikes, and so he's not afraid to get into a confrontation. But in terms of how that translates to a fight and the psychology of a fighter, someone who's very gregarious like Teddy Roosevelt, that translates into his fighting ability. And so if we take the same type of profiling with Silent Cal, yeah, we're not up for much.
Not at all.
All right. Well, so that is the fight. We say goodbye to Calvin Coolidge there. Hold on, I think I'll have to stop here for editing. Okay, so it looks like 4 and 5 that... Oh, no. Roosevelt and Trump. Okay, I guess they're both seeded to the next round. Okay, so...
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they...
Right. Okay, so for
they
round
get a
2,
pass.
Right. All right, I'll just cut this part out and then go up to the next fight. Okay, well, that concludes round 1. Just as a recap, John Adams is victorious in the fight against John Quincy Adams. Fillmore beats Van Buren. Arthur beats Coolidge. We're now moving to round 2. This is a big fight. This is John Adams versus Teddy Roosevelt. Wonder what will happen there. Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next fight. Thanks for listening to Presidential Fight Club. If you'd like to download your own printable bracket sheets for each regional tournament so you can guess how the tournament will go, check out presidentialfightclub.com. We'd appreciate it if you could rate and review us on Apple Podcasts as well. Thanks for listening, and may you fight with the stamina of Teddy Roosevelt, the courage of George Washington, and the reach of Abraham Lincoln.